this video I'll show you how I do my bases for my Gloomspite kits. Hello Bitsbrewed, it's Craig from bitsbox.co.uk here, and yeah, this is another basin tutorial. This time these are for my Gloomspite kits. So I had a previous video where I did like the spider themed base for all like the spider fang stuff, so these ones are going to be for my sort of Moon Clan and my Troggoths. These ones particularly are for my Troggoths. And I'll show you how I sort of make some like little mushrooms to go on them and little rocks and things like that. So they're quite simple bases, but they're really fun to do. So before we begin, as always, if you're new to a channel, then welcome. And if you want to subscribe to our channel, the button is down below. I'm going to do more basin tutorials and painting tutorials in the coming weeks. And then hopefully in sort of a month or two we'll get back on the bat reps and stuff. We're just doing a few little renovations at the moment, so sort of the gaming table is out of action. And yeah, also before we begin, as always, just a huge thank you to our Patreons. Without them, our sort of renovations wouldn't even be taking place. So yeah, I'll be doing a video on all that in the future as well. It's quite exciting times here. So yeah, let's just get straight into this. Okay, here we go then. We are going to make some Gloomspite Gits themed bases with like mushrooms and rocks and stuff for these Troggoths. As you can see, they're not glued to their base, but obviously if you're going to make a base like this, you need to know where your feet are going to go, so you can obviously make a base where they can stand nice and flat. So that's why I've just got them here. So now obviously this army is the same army that I've done my spiderweb bases for, but I want to do something a little bit different. We're going to try and sort of maintain that sort of theme, but do something different, have more mushrooms and things like that. So let's take them off their bases. Now in that video for the spiderweb bases, and I will put a link at the end of this video, or down the bottom, or both, for that, I used foam. I used blue and pink foam to make rocks on the base. I thought for this one I'll do something different to that, so we're not using the same sort of thing. So for this, I'm using cork tiles. So these are just like, can't get more in shot, but these are just tiles of cork, essentially. Quite easy to get hold of, quite cheap. You get sort of packs of them, and essentially just cork. Really good base material. This bit I've just ripped off randomly just from a piece. You can see it, you get a nice natural edge if you just rip it. Don't cut it with a knife or anything if you want sort of like a natural edge. And then like, if I want this smaller, I can just sort of rip it. I'll rip it like so. You can see it gives us a nice sort of rock edge. I mean, you could like get a knife if you want. If I've got one nearby. And you could use it just to give you like an angle. This is not a particularly sharp knife, but always be careful cutting, and you can give yourself sort of an angle. But obviously using a knife, sometimes your cuts are a bit too straight, so I do find it's good practice to try and rip it. So say we put it on the base like so, he could potentially stand up there like that. Although I may use it for the other one because his feet are slightly closer together, like that. So yeah, we'll have him standing on there like so. And I'm just going to use PVA glue to attach these. You can use hot glue. I always find with such small things, hot glue can sometimes, if you don't have a nice flat coat of it, which can be quite easy to do, it'll just leave a little gap. I'm not particularly into leaving gaps and stuff. So for the other one, I'm thinking maybe we could have a big rock, and he could be standing on another one or something, quite possibly. I quite like the shapes I'm getting with these, so that's why I want to just sort of keep them as they are. But we could have him standing on another piece, get a smaller piece, like so. Again, just rip it with your fingers until you get sort of a size and a shape you want. Let's sort of go like that. That's quite small. And yeah, you could be standing on there like so. There he is. Get him a bit more in shot. I'm sure you guys can see what's going on here. So yeah, that's how I'll get them stuck down. Now it's up to you if you want little bits overhanging or not. For these, I am actually going to have overhanging. I don't mind that so much. But obviously, if you haven't, you can just trim them down. So yeah, let's get these glued anyway, and then we'll move on to the next bit. So these are still drying, but I just want to show you what to do in the next step. So I can have all my drying time just happening in one go, because we need to go back to the PVA glue, and with an old brush, just apply it over the rest of the base, like so. These are going to move around a little bit, but it doesn't matter. You could do this when it's dry, and if you used hot glue it probably would be by now, but it's not going to make much difference here. And apply it all over, and then we're going to take some sand, just some modern sand. We use the same thing in the spider base video. Just any old sand will do, or any flock what you use for your bases. And we're going to apply that all over the rest of the base. So, again, I'm just using this Army Painter one that I've got, but anything will do. And even though this rock or cork isn't dry, it won't make a blind bit of difference at this stage. So apply it all over like so. Shake off the excess. With any areas you missed, you can just go back in with PVA glue. I'm not really too worried about covering all of it because we're going to put other stuff on there, like static grass, and we're going to make some little mushrooms as well. It's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so once that's all done, you have something that looks like this. Now we have a little sort of cork texture on the top, so I want to try and mask that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some Astro Granite, and I'm going to just add a little bit of water to this, just so we have a bit of a thinner application, because I don't want to be too thick, because otherwise it will just look like we've got more of the sand on the base. And then I'm going to spread it out over the rocks like so. And once that's done, you'll have something that looks like that. So I haven't gone like all the way to the edge. I mean, you can. It's not a massive issue. It's just to cover up most of the middle. So yeah, I'm going to do that on the next one. And then while we're waiting for that to dry, we can start making some little mushrooms. Okay, so as I said, while these are drying, we're going to move on to make our little mushrooms. So here I've got a little piece of wire, this is just from a paper clip. That'll act as the stem of our mushroom. Now if you want to make it thicker, obviously you could wrap some milliput or green stuff around it. I've got some green stuff here, because that's what we're going to use for the top of the mushroom. So make it, cut a piece as long as the mushroom, and then maybe a quarter on top of that. Just so we have a little stem piece just to stick in the base. That'll make it easier to stick into the base. And essentially, there's a very fiddly job of working with some green stuff, mixed up with two colours here, and kind of sticking it on the top, and you can shape it with your fingers. Now, a good thing about mushrooms, they're normally quite irregular shapes. So, if that wants to focus or not. So that gives us a nice little mushroom there. And it's just a case of letting that dry. Green stuff will take a few hours to properly cure. Definitely give it that time. You could make these while you're actually waiting for all the PVA glue to dry on your base as well. So again, I basically sort of get like not a ball, it's more like not a squished circle, but sort of semi-squished circle. So stick it on, and then you can just sort of push it down around the edges. Now if you want to have a more pointy one, you can sort of pinch the middle, and you sort of got to work your way around until you get something you're happy with. Again, it's a good job that they sort of have irregular shapes most of the time. Also, if you're working with green stuff, it does help to sort of dampen your fingers a little bit. Stop the green stuff sticking to you. This isn't particularly sticky green stuff. And sort of pinch them like so. And if it gets a bit flat, you can sort of just push it to get the shape you want. And once it's dry as well, or even before it dries, you could trim little bits off. I'm thinking I'd like to trim a little bit there. And that'll trim off. Probably easier to do when it's completely dry, but I'll straighten that one out a little bit. So I'm going to use my knife just to straighten it out. There we go. So that's more of a little mushroom. So yeah, I'm going to make a few of these, and then I'll show you how I can attach them to the base. Okay, so I've got a few here. I've got about 7 that I've made. Sort of see them just lined up there. So the easiest way to put them in the bases is just to make a little hole in the base that you can sit them in. Now I'm just going to use a knife for this, and hopefully it won't be a disaster. So sort of work out where your miniature's going. I think it was this guy on that one. So I think maybe some at the front would look quite nice. So in hindsight, this may have been better to do before the sand was put on. It's not exactly difficult to put a hole in these bases with the sand there, mind you. So I'll just sort of run my knife in, just twist it slightly so we get a circular hole. Now I don't have a small enough bit on my pin vise, because you could use a pin vise for this, but I don't have a small enough bit for this. And let's just take one of our little mushrooms there. And now we have a hole. It should in theory pop in. Now, I don't want to push down on this because the green stuff's still wet. If your green stuff is dry, you'll find this a lot easier. But maybe get some tweezers. I'm going to use my clippers here and just hold them like that. Obviously don't put too much force on it so I don't break the wire, and that should hopefully slot in there. If the hole's not big enough, which may be the case, it's not going to go in, so no worries. We can just go back with a knife and just make that slightly bigger. Now it's just sort of trial and error until you get the right size, really, because you don't want to go too big, and then you have a big hole in your base. That should pop in like so, and then if you're happy with that, then you can glue it in place. If not, you can trim it down and whatnot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do several of these holes and pop in my mushrooms. And here we have the bases with a few mushrooms. So I've done like a little cluster of mushrooms there. If you do them sort of different heights, then you can get them quite close to each other. And then I've got a couple here. Oh, get them in shot would help. A couple here, and another one on its own there. So once you've reached this step, I've applied some super glue as well to hold them in case anyone's wondering. But once you've reached this step, everything's dry, your green stuff's dry, your texture paint, PVA glue and everything's dry, you can then start painting. And unlike the bases I did with foam, you can actually spray paint these, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use some Chaos Black spray, and I'll give them a spray, and then we'll be ready to paint them. Okay, so here are our bases. Now they've been sprayed with Chaos Black spray. So yeah, I'm going to begin painting them, and I'm going to paint them in a very similar fashion to how I painted the spiderweb bases, because obviously it's the same army, so they're going to match. So we start off by getting some Mournfang brown. I've actually got a brand new pot of this. The other one just was drying up too much, and yeah, I'm going to thin it out, probably even more than I have here, and just paint all of the sand on the base. Now what I like about using spray paint rather than like the Mod Podge mix is that it really, well, the Mod Podge mix that I did use before really did help lock it in. I think the spray paint just does a slightly bit of a better job at keeping all this glued onto the base. And yeah, just literally just go around painting it all in this colour. Next up, I'm going to paint the rocks with some Eshin Grey. You could always use Dawnstone if you want to go a little bit lighter, but I've been using Eshin Grey in this army. I've thinned it down, and we'll probably do a couple of thin coats on this one. And once both of these colours are dry, I'm going to wash them with Nuln Oil. This will of course deepen all them recesses, bring out the detail on all these areas. So I'm doing this on both colours. That just brings out all the little texture that we've put on the rocks as well. Okay, so that wash has obviously darkened these down, and now we can use highlights, or a highlight, to lighten them up. And I'm just going to take my trusty Longbeard Grey, one of my favourite dry paints, which is great for, especially for rocks on bases. I'm just going to dry brush it all over. Being very gentle and just building up gradually. It's always the best way to go when you are dry brushing. I'm also going to go over all the sand as well. That'll bring these two colours together really nicely. And as you can see, it's bringing out all that texture that I applied to the rock earlier as well. With the dry brushing done, you can see that's brought out the detail really nice. So next we're going to paint our mushrooms. And we'll start with Rakarth Flesh. So I'm just going to paint all the mushrooms all over with Rakarth Flesh. Even though I will paint some in different colours, I just like to just use Rakarth Flesh just as a base coat. And then I'll work out what colours I want to do them afterwards. So you may need 2 thin coats here just to go over this black. Okay, so at this stage you can paint your mushroom caps however you want, really. So I'm going to do a couple of red ones. We'll get some Wild Rider red. Let's have some nice and bright ones for these. So I'm going to get this little guy in the middle, or in the front, I should say. And we'll just paint him with Wild Rider red. I'll probably do a couple of thin coats. Get it nice and even, nice and bright. We'll do one on this one in that colour as well. Like so. And then another way I've been painting mushrooms, I've got a little bit on that one, but we'll paint over him. Another way I've been painting some mushrooms is with like 2 different colours, so let's paint this guy here in that way. So yeah, as I said, I've been doing like 2 colours. I'm doing like a turquoise with a purple, so I'm going to get some Tacalia Lilac, which is a very nice sort of light, well, lilac colour really. I'll start by painting that over. Just like so. Again, a couple of thin coats, get a nice smooth coverage. And while the second coat is still a little bit wet, get some Ahriman Blue, and I thinned it down a little bit, and we're going to sort of try and do like a wet blend towards the top. Like so. Go sort of 2/3 of the way down. Then we can go back with our lilac and thin that down a little bit. And then you can sort of drag some of it downwards over the blue. Give us a little bit of a transition. Now you could go back and forth with the 2 colours and get a really nice smooth blend. I'm only just showing you this quickly, just for purposes of the video, because you may wish to just paint your mushrooms completely different colours, but it's a case of just going back and forth. I mean, you could go right over like that and then come back in with more blue. There's plenty of videos on wet blend, and I think we've even done a couple ourselves on this channel, so I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, just with the wet paints, just back and forth. I don't know how easy it picks up on the camera here, but just wet back and forth until you get a result that you're happy with. I'll just go in with a little bit more blue. Like so. And one last little thing you can do on the mushrooms is take some white scar and you can give them some spots. Now you could even have sculpted some spots with little bits of green stuff. I find on these tiny little ones, entirely unnecessary. You can paint them on a bit better than I can. You'll still get the same effect. I just need to thin that white sky out just a little bit more. If you're doing anything that requires a steady hand, then definitely the thinner the paint the better. That's better. And you can also just go back up with your Wild Rider red and neaten them up if you so wish. But I think the little spots just add something to the mushrooms. If you do them better than I can, that was terrible. And again, having quite thin paint means if you do make a mistake, you can easily just wipe it off. That's better. Just little dots with your brush. I'm using a 00 brush here. And there we go, some nice spotty mushrooms. So, next thing I want to do is just add some static grass. I've got some static grass in a box here, and just get some PVA glue. And essentially just going to apply it in random areas. Now there's a couple of areas where the sand hasn't completely covered the base. Certainly want to focus on these areas. And any other little random spots around the rocks. So just going in with PVA glue down the sprinkler on over my box and shake off the excess. And you see we get some nice little spots of static grass. I'm sure most of you know the drill by now. And I'll do the same on this one. I'll probably do a bit more grass on the next one. Then all that's left to do is just paint the rim of the base. You can do any colour you so wish. I'm going to use Rhinox hide. And here we have the finished bases. So yeah, I'm really happy with these. They're quite simple. Try and keep my basin quite simple, when I've got a lot of them to do. But yeah, really enjoyed making the little mushrooms. I mean, that's the main sort of thing in this video, showing you how to do your own little mushrooms. The rocks are pretty straightforward. I'm sure many of you already knew how to do like cork rocks, but they do look quite effective, and I'm really happy with them. So yeah, ready for my Trogoths to go on, and I have one of them painting up here. Let's zoom out just a little bit. That's the wrong way. There we go. Yeah, so this guy's gonna stand atop here. He's almost finished, and I will be doing a tutorial on how I done his skin, because I'm quite happy with the effect. And I showed this on social media, and a lot of people seem to like it. There's all like different colours used, and it's very simple to do. So that'll be the next painting tutorial on this channel. And yeah, it looks quite good on his base. So yeah, really happy with that. And the reason I only done 2 and not 3 is that one of the other Trogoths I've just used like the plastic mushrooms on, so I won't show them off, but I've made my own on these ones. So yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. And if you have, then please do give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. We have Patreon you can check out as well if you want to see what that's all about. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, then please feel free to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. You can also click that bell icon to be notified when a new video has gone live on this channel. On the screen now are 2 more videos that you may wish to check out, and a link to our Patreon page also. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.